Welcome everyone onto our webinar today. We are going to jump in with our last webinar of the year. I know that here at the end of the year, it gets kind of crazy. Everyone's doing 2024 planning. People are taking off work. People are doing Christmas parties, all the things, but we're so grateful that you all are here. Hey, Kathy, thanks for the chat. Our chat is open. So I always say we like questions and compliments in the chat. So feel free to jump in there at any point and ask us questions. So today I have a very special guest. Actually, John, before I get you to introduce yourself, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce you via a video. Oh, is this one? Where are we at?
Yes, gas prices are out of control, and News Channel 19 is taking steps without sacrificing coverage tonight in order to save money and still give you the most complete high school football coverage. We will be carpooling to all the games, everybody in one car, but we'll be everywhere from Sand Mountain to the Shoals there, and we need you to help us out with the final scores at 1-800-533-TV19. We're being responsible in our coverage in terms of gas. We need you to be responsible and call in those scores.
Tonight on News Channel 19 at 10.
Does that feel like a lifetime ago?
Yeah, that's 40 pounds ago at the very least, but it was a bunch of years. So yeah, it's
welcome to John. John and I actually used to work at WH&T News 19 together. That's where I met him. He was the funny, great sports reporter. I was the teleprompter girl that quickly went into news reporting on the weekends. And I loved working with him. And now, you guys, he's in the video area. And so this is why we're having him on today. We are going to chat all about videos, all about branding. I know that that's a key topic in schools right now. But John, go ahead and introduce yourself to our beauty school audience and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, and that's one of the things with Jen, and I told her one week because we hadn't seen each other in a long time, but my memory was, I'm the sports guy running on the set, tightening my tie and all this, but I noticed Jen, again, was the teleprompter operator, which is kind of the off to the side job, but I just kept noticing everybody gathered around her. I don't know if they were seeking wisdom or they just liked her, but it was just like, I talked to maybe 3 or 4 times as I was running around, but I was like, well, she's not going to be a teleprompter operator. She's going to go on to some great things. And it was like, I don't know what she's going to end up doing, but I was like, what is she doing here running that? But it was just, you were finishing education and just getting your start. And you just always had a feel for people, which I think everybody on this call knows. Well, how do you stand out from your competition, or even as you're just trying to find people to understand that what you all do is a way to make a living, and being able to stand out. That's what I've done, because I have this giant misshapen head, but I was able to be on TV for 20 years because I would do the story. Like if a team, for the most part, when you do sports, 80% of your audience doesn't care that the soccer team is ranked 3rd in the country, this high school soccer team. But if you do a story on the fact that the goalie, because they're so good, she never saw a shot on goal, she sang Disney tunes and contemporary Christian songs to herself. So we put a microphone on her during the game, and everybody remembers that, as opposed to, oh, that's so cute that team is doing it. So I always found ways to tell the story, and it's definitely carried over into the marketing world, because, you could do the same thing that people in your business did 20 years ago and 10 years ago. And that's part of why I don't work at TV stations anymore, because they still want to sell commercials. And that's the last thought they put into it. You have somebody who never stops thinking about how to better position her clients. And that's Jen. And that's what I always try to do too, is like, you can learn lessons just by understanding that you're in a pile of people to get their attention. How do you stand out?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that conversation that we're going to have today, because I think schools are missing the mark on the storytelling element. And I even say that in admissions, you guys, when you guys are touring, of course, we're going to sprinkle in all areas of expertise here, but the call to action, John, so you know that when someone comes in as a lead, as a prospect to a beauty school, the first thing they do is they book a tour of the school. So they come in for a free tour, they sit down with an admissions person. And I always say the best admissions people know how to sprinkle stories throughout. So like as you're walking someone through a building, you're not just like, this is the freshman room. You're like, hey, that's your teacher and she makes the best chocolate chip cookies and she brings them every Christmas. Or you're showing them the student kit and you're saying, this is our incredible student kit. Those hot tools will last you at least 10 years. Or I love the products. You're going to the retail section and you're grabbing your favorite shampoo bottle and you're opening it and be like, smell this. Like, this is my favorite product that we sell. Though people remember that. People remember stories sprinkled in with information. And I want to chat with you today a little bit about that when it comes to video. So for starters, the growth of video in marketing, let's chat about that. Why is it taken off so much today? Why is it so important that our schools are introducing more video into their marketing?
Yeah, and it's tell, and don't be afraid to tell and brag about your people too. So if they went into it and started a business, or they learned, maybe they went to they started out at one of the the chain type places, but they're always thinking of their business and they're going to take the lessons that they learned, use video of them talking about what they learned from you. That's one thing. If you're a beauty school, is go talk to Jeff and Margaret, who have their own business, but they started out with you, and you want it to look good too. Because I think a lot of folks who do this, my phone does HD video. Yeah, but the audio is not great, or it looks like my office, and it's just like.
Okay, then let's pause on that for a second, because we had a really great question that someone asked in the chat is, why is there so much pushback? Because we know video is effective, right? We know that Gen Z is on TikTok more than any other app out there, which is 100% video. We know that Instagram ads have completely converted 100% to video. Everything is video today. Why is there pushback? For starters, I think that schools, John, are afraid of exactly what you just said. How professional should it be versus how authentic should it be? I think that there is a fine line. I definitely have an opinion on this. I would love to hear yours.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, when back in the 1930s when I was doing TV, but it used to be incredibly expensive to have a high quality video, but equipment is cheaper now, and people are hungrier to generate business for themselves on the media side and the video side. Talk to people, and if they have a price list that's out of your realm, that's fine. But for the most part, they're going to say, well, this is my budget. They're going to work with you, and you want it to look good. Because I went through yesterday, and I'm big on, if you have a video version of your facts, the FAQs, it's got to look good. Because there was a young lady who had one, it was like 9 minutes long, but it was on her phone and the audio was bad and she looked uncomfortable. It probably undid all the good she was doing. So go in knowing what your FAQs are, because I'm sure you all get questions, and a lot of them are similar. Okay, these are the 8 or 10 most asked questions. Well, have an answer for it. So then it's there. How do I finance this? Or how do I do this once I start my business? Or what does the school say about this? Have those there. Because first of all, it answers their question. And the second is, it casts you as the expert. That's a big thing.
Yeah. So what we're talking about, you guys, we're not just talking about taking video and putting them straight to an ad, boosting them on social. We're talking about videos sprinkled in every element of your outreach strategy. So what I would love to see schools do is take a look with fresh eyes at your website. See what the most visited pages are, guaranteed you, other than salon and spa, which is about half of your traffic. You're going to have people checking out your financing pages. That's a top one. And all we do is we say financial aid is available to those who qualify, like something, super basic and non-informative. What would be ideal is if you had video for all the different elements on your website. The About Us section, have a video for that. Like John said, your FAQs, how do you get financed? What are the different types of scholarships you offer? What are the 5 steps to enrollment? And you can also sprinkle these in to your email strategy, into your texting strategy. Like, you can use videos in different elements. So why is there pushback? Again, I think you're right, John. I think people just assume video's expensive. I don't want to hire someone. I don't know how to go about this. How do you feel about having a face of a company? Let's chat about that.
It also depends if you're the owner and you're out front and you're fantastic, or you just hire Jen Lyles because she's the most likable human being you'll ever meet. But having a self-awareness, like, how am I practice on camera and have people that you trust, maybe not people you pay, because they're going to say, no, you're fantastic, and then your eyes are going left and right, or you're uncomfortable. But be aware of what you're saying, but don't be afraid of having, oh, Julie, who I work with, is a superstar on camera. She can be your face a little bit too. Or I'm just making up a name, Julie, but you're here to sell it, and don't do it because we interviewed 6 people, but yeah, they took the time to do it, but 2 of them are really bad at it. You gotta be willing to put the people who are strong for you up front to be the face, whether they're doing it as an ad or if they're just a spokesperson. Like, I went through this and I'm great. So I think if you have someone available who is strong on camera and self-assured and can be that person, great. But don't feel like you're obligated to if there's just nobody handy and you don't have the budget to hire the local former news anchor. By the way, there are a lot of those that are looking for work because TV doesn't pay anymore.
Well, and those people already know how to. It's so funny because, you know, I do a lot of video editing myself, and I do a lot of TikTok, and people ask me why my videos take off, why they do well. And I always say it's those 2.5 years I was in news. We would take, John, we would take 4-hour stories and make it a 90-second package, a 30-second package. It was all about little sound bites. And so even when I interview people or I do videos, I will take this webinar and I will turn it into a 1-minute package that I'll put on LinkedIn. I'm really good at finding those little sound bites. And I think that's something, let's talk about that, especially from our TV days. You're great at interviewing. You're good at getting the story out. Let's talk about testimonials, because Teresa mentioned that in the comments. What are some of your tips for drawing out that emotion, or for, really any of those interview tips you have?
Yeah, and one thing I would do is, if you sit down and have the nice conversation, because usually your first two questions, you are just trying to get comfortable with them and see what they care about. Don't worry about using everything. But one thing I noticed is I did a deep dive of what everybody does this is more for salons, but it was also for the schools. The videos were like 29 minutes. They were too long. Some of them were like, how do you best, I don't know the terminology of, the best technique, but it was like, they didn't have an outreach video. It was, here's 29 minutes about how to do this properly. No, do a 30-second or a 1-minute.
Yeah, who's going to watch that? And you know what's really funny is that no one will watch a 29-minute video, but everyone will watch 29 1-minute videos.
Yeah. It's the same thing as, people when you're streaming a movie or you're streaming a show, people watch 6 half-hour episodes of something, but a 3-hour movie is out of the question, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So it's for your outreach part of things, having TikTok and Instagram and all. That's where my kids are. Because again, I was on TV, but my kids never would have watched me because first of all, they're my giant head again. But it was also, they flip through, they see something that gets their attention the first 5 seconds, they'll watch it to the end. But if it doesn't, you can be incredibly engaging. But if you're talking for 29 minutes or even 10, 12, that's not outreach. You're using your TikTok, your 20 seconds or 30 seconds on TikTok to drive them to your site. So now you've engaged them on 2 points.
Yeah.
Use the TikTok, use Instagram and all those things to grab people. Hey, I bet you didn't know this, and again, mention your cookies. Come on in, I'll bake it. I mean, we'll share.
Yeah, sure. That's when you do little things like that. And I appreciate you know, if we're talking about the really nice, highly edited, someone you hire and bring in type of video, there is a place for that. And
Mhm.
it's not on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm sorry. Like it's almost embarrassing to see companies on TikTok create these really cringe ads which look like they belong on TV. I'm just like, that's not TikTok. So you want the authentic, grab the phone, your hair's a mess, your makeup's running, you're telling a quick story. Great.
Yeah.
That's on TikTok. That is not these nicely, highly developed videos. They're completely different. And I think schools are forgetting that. And so you don't, you know, if you have someone at your school who's doing social media, they're the social media manager, social media coordinator, they're supposed to do lives. That doesn't need to be an expensive thing. You can have a phone and you can do that.
Yeah. My last job was actually at Cardinal Stritch University. And here's the reason why Cardinal Stritch University is closed now. They had a sales and marketing person and they had a communications person, and they were still buying commercials on the morning news. Their social media was like the throwaway. And it just did not matter. And their social media person was an old radio person and he was a nice guy, but he was also trying to launch his business while he was working there. So the best thing that happened was he left. And again, nice guy. And this young lady who had been the point guard on the basketball team, and she was now working in the office. Her job was just to take stuff and put it on the website. She said, "Well, while you're looking for somebody, I'll do some things for you for social media, for TikTok, all that." And she basically took our mascot, the wolf mascot, Wolfie, really clever name, and just took him around campus, and he would be there, and it would be first day of basketball practice, first, soccer team doing some goofy stuff. And the communications person was so upset because their normal engagement on any video they put out was 12 people would watch it. When she started doing this with no promotion, no nothing, just putting it out there, they were averaging like 3,000 between. It's like the first couple at 1,200, and it just kept going up to get students interested in what was going on campus. Then they sent them to the high schools. Well, the communications person saw it as a threat and wanted to get her fired, and they warned her not to do it anymore. And then she got a job, doubled her salary, but she loved her college. She wanted to work at her college.
Yeah.
And because they were trapped in the days of, I always thought of, most people in this may be too young for Anchorman, but Ron Burgundy wasn't far off. Being a news anchor and being on the news with your commercial used to be a big deal. Now, your target audience, if my memory serves, one of the bonuses of my life is Jen and I both worked with the Empire Beauty School back in the day.
Yeah.
And they told me their target audience was female 16 to 24. Well, where are the 16 and 18-year-olds? Where are the 24-year-olds for that matter? They're on TikTok. They're in places you can reach them as long as it's good and compelling and consistent. So don't put out one TikTok video. All right, next week I'll do another one.
Yeah, it didn't go viral. It didn't blow up. I followed the 5 keys and I can't do that. Yeah, agreed. You have to be consistent on that type of platform. What I think schools, and I do want to chat about testimonials again, because I feel like this is a huge area where schools are messing up. If you have been on my webinars or have done trainings with me, bear with me because I'm going to repeat myself, because still 99% of schools are doing this incorrectly. What schools are doing is that they are going out and they are finding their all-star graduates. Who is making a crap ton of money? Who is killing it? Who owns 17 salons? Let's put her as our poster child. If you go to the Nashville airport, which is where I live, I think it's like Tennessee State or wherever Oprah went, like she's all over their ads. Like, look, that is never going to happen. That is rare. That it's very rare that an Oprah is going to go to your school, that like, this grand person will go to your school and do super well. What is more realistic is that you will have a single mom who's struggling. That's way more realistic. What you'll have is someone who dropped out of nursing school because her mom made her go there and she was unhappy and she wasn't doing well. And then she came to your school. That's more realistic. That is more relatable. So instead of telling the stories of your all-star graduates, start telling stories of the normal person, of the everyday person. It is so much more relatable. And do not tell their entire story after, tell their entire story before. So what you want to do is you want to find the person that was struggling, that was homeless, that never saw their kids, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the pain points. And when you interview them, I want you to be less focused on tell me all the great things you're doing now, and instead say, tell me your life before beauty school. What were you doing? What didn't you like about that? Let's chat about, had you never gone to beauty school, what would your life look like today? Why are, like, that is what the testimonials should be like. Am I right?
Yeah. And one thing is, you're not done the first time you put something out. Because again, that was like, we would do stories on the news, and the two guys I worked with in the sportscasters would always marvel because I would give them like 5 other sound bites, you know, of a person we interviewed that you could run at a different time. And it's the same thing where, yeah, we did this video, we put out a TikTok with this young person who ended up at our school and doing well. But remember, demand this of your social media person, saying, well, are there other things we can come back to? Don't be thinking, well, they've already seen us, they've already seen her. Well, they haven't heard her say this yet. So if you're emphasizing some aspect of whether it's running the business part or the skills and the art to what you're doing, they all have those sound bites. Make sure you have a file of everything they said. So then it sparks when you're in a meeting of your 4 or 5 people. We really want to emphasize this, or awareness of products that they need to know how to do.
That's a great point. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can take one sound bite from a video and then a different sound bite for a completely different video. Also, can I just share with you guys my biggest piece of advice that I learned from being in news? John, the very first time I ever did a story, I remember, I think it was Andy or it was David Wood. He was editing my package and he was like, Jen, you do this thing when you interview where you agree with like you're in the background of every sound bite going, yeah, wow, woo. Like, and he's like, it's really hard to edit the other person when you are going, to everything. And so I quickly learned that when you interview, shut up. Just don't.
I had to be conscious not to go, I was agreeing with you, but I had to make sure I didn't go,
That's the thing. You can shake your head, but I think naturally when someone speaks to us, we go, like we do agreements, but you can't do that because the camera will pick it up and then it's really hard to edit that. So just ask the question and stop.
And be authentic. Like, again, don't feel like if you're the one talking, you're not giving a speech. You're talking from the heart. And this is an odd story. It's from when I was in college, I was working at a TV station, and the woman who became my future ex-wife, if you want to do the math on how to get there, she was interning, and she was got to intern as a reporter, and I was her photographer who also got to do sports stories. And she and I would go out and shoot things, and she was Bradley, where I went to school, was the national champion speech team, and she was amazing at it. But she would get in the audio booth, and she would begin to give a speech about the car wreck on the South Side. And she would be like this. Meanwhile, she's the most talented, beautiful, amazing person. We weren't dating yet, so I went in the audio booth. I'm sure part of it was I was hitting on her, but it was also, I went in there, no, talk to the full of it guy you're meeting at the fraternity party about this. You know, talk like you're talking to the people. Because if you feel like I have to get all this in, I need to say it perfectly.
Yeah.
A little hem and haw, or you're thinking, or you're talking to a person, that's going to go farther than your perfect messaging. So make sure you are talking from the heart and have someone who is there who maybe can say, hey, can you hit that again, but talk, you know, more like a human being as opposed to a speech giver. So having someone you trust be a part of the video
Mm.
as almost a producer who isn't scared you're going to fire them for critiquing them, and hopefully you're not the type that would fire somebody.
I think that's a great idea. I don't think we do that enough. Like you can ask someone you're interviewing, can you say that again? Say that again in another way. I think that's a really good point. I want to share a video. I share this in my trainings. It's my favorite ad for a school ever done. You'll recognize it really quick. It's a minute. You'll recognize it really quickly because it was all over TV. But I wanna show it and then chat about it for a second.
Oh, my life is changing every day, in every possible way. I want more, impossible to ignore, impossible to ignore. I want more.
You know, I believe Pixar made that,
Mhm.
and I think it cost $1 million. I think I heard that at a conference once. The reason I love this ad is because it just depicts real life. Like it doesn't glamorize going to school. It's like, listen, this is going to be hard. It's clearly a single mom. She, you know, isn't happy with her life. And now she's got to stay up late. Now she's got to make some sacrifices. I would love if schools would stop lying to students and prospective students about how like it's a year of your life and then you're done. It's 6 months, super short course. Like, what if we were a little more realistic and been like, yeah, you know, it might be hard. You might have to quit your job. You might have to work weekends because we're a Monday to Friday schedule. But our number one priority at the school is to get you licensed so that you can get to work immediately, because you finding a job is our number one priority at school. Why don't we say that? I just wish if we were, I really think, John, if schools were a little bit more honest in their marketing, it would actually serve them a lot better than what they're currently doing.
Yeah, it's there's uplifting parts about having a business and all that, but you are trying to build a life, and getting a job is the thing, and demanding that same honesty from the people that you're working with, whether it is your people that are working for you, but if you're using media to tell your story through video, I will whisper this, so no TV sales or radio sales people. There are no newspaper salespeople anymore, so that'll tell you. They're desperate for you. So demand that they give you the deal that you are interested in. No, this is my budget. Oh, but if you do this, we'll put you in here. Well, this is my budget. I still want that because I'll give you the example. When I worked at a station a few years ago. It was a CW and a MyNet station, like two different TV stations. And when I started, commercials sadly, we showed Maury and Jerry Springer and all those. God bless them. I met Jerry Springer, very nice guy, by the way. But
oh, that's a separate story. I would love to hear.
Yeah, the commercials we ran in Maury and Jerry Springer when I started were $165 for 30 seconds. I left 5 years later, they were $15 because their ratings are in the toilet. And this is even stations that do news and things like that. There is still value in what they're doing, but they've got to offer you what we call value added, which means free. Like, well, how can I get some value added commercials? Because now from listening to me, they're not in the position of strength anymore. It used to be, where else are you going to go? It was TV, radio, and newspapers, and that's it. Now, if they have a community project a radio station or a TV station is doing, well, as part of my ad campaign, I'll spend this with you. give me a table at your event or something
Mm.
along those lines, because now you're out in front of people in person. So you're winning digitally, you're winning on TV if you decide to be on TV with them, and you're in person. And back to Empire Beauty, people laughed at me because when I was working at one of those stations, we showed high school football on Thursday nights. And again, I knew that the target audience was female, ages 16 to 24. And I was talking to the marketing person and I said, well, you should do high school football because we have an on-site capacity. Like, we're trying to reach girls 16 to 24. They don't care about football. I'm like, well, who's at the game that's not on the field?
Hmm.
Girls. And they had
Sure.
and we set up a little tent with all of our sponsors, and they had this powerhouse, redheaded, just unbelievable, outgoing person out there representing them. And she was, they normally went when they did regular events and things, they get 6 or 8 people, but because they were at a high school, they had 125 inquiries each week out of that. And we did a game every week. So that was 125 new people every week inquiring, because not only did you have an ad on TV, you had your social media stuff, and then you had an on-site. Make sure it's somebody that's likable. Don't have somebody that's scowling at them, because
Sure. Well, usually it's the admissions person who does those on-site things at high school,
right.
and admissions people are, bubbly, fun, my
Yep.
favorite people who work in a school. That's interesting. So what schools generally do today, beauty schools, is that they will do high school career or high school college fairs. Like, they'll have a booth, or sometimes they'll do visits. How many people on this call have ever advertised at a football game? Like, that's really, really smart. I also want you to share your beautiful moment. Is that what it was called? Is that
Oh, it was it was what was it now? Beautiful.
Was it the
Yeah,
beautiful
it was the
moment of the
beautiful
game?
moment, beautiful moment of the game. And it was just, whether it was a nice, sweet moment in the stands or a great play that was just going over the top. And it was the Empire Beauty School's beautiful moment of the game. And
So
so
smart.
we would promote it twice during the game. And then at the end, we would say it was almost like a play of the game type of thing. And then I would, the next morning, because I was their salesperson for the station, send the link to that moment to the beauty school, and then they would put it out. Empire would put it out on their social media locally. And they said, then it was just kind of a nice thing. And everything I did, I also shared with the school district. So then they put it out there too, because our kid had
Love
the
it.
beautiful moment of the game. So it's like, again, demand it. So it's like, if you are doing something, whether they are doing a social event, a health fair, or something like that, well, I want you to thank me for being a part of it on air. And if
Mhm.
you have something that that stands out about you, so it's like, you agree to spend $500 for a table at, we had a thing called the Be Well Expo. Well, that's great. We'll be there. But I also want you to thank Empire Beauty School. And again, I'm just emphasizing Empire for being a
Sure.
part of it. Or you're sponsoring a part of the entertainment, your sponsor, something like that that stands out. And again, with the high school football, they were Sinclair stations. They do it in 35 markets. So I can even provide a list. Okay, here's all the cities that they do it in. Call those stations and say, hey, I want to be a part of Friday Night Rivals, I think is what they're calling it there. And we'd love to be a part of it. Pitch me on it. And if
I
they
love
try
it.
to charge you too much, say, well, no, because they will come back around, because they always overprice.
They need advertisers, right? So yes,
Yeah.
so as schools, this is something you can negotiate for sure. Any sort of this traditional marketing. I love that. I know our audiences too. People are in the comments loving that idea. I just want to give a shout out to everyone in our chat today. I have been doing monthly webinars with this company for going on 2 years. It's 2 full years now. We're going to start our 3rd in January. And the comment section continues to grow, like everyone having conversations in there. It's one of my favorite things about the beauty school community, is that everyone's here to like encourage each other and give each other tips. So thank you to everyone giving really great advice in there. I want to shift and talk a little bit more about professionally branded videos for schools. John, I know this is something that your company does.
Yes, we are. It's called My People Creative.
Okay.
Luckily, the guy who named it left, so now we've rebranded it to MPC Media because nobody knew what My People Creative means.
Okay.
But
PC Media.
but it's one of those things where we can shoot, again, almost a testimonial type for you and put it together. We edit it, we put it all together for you for your use. And again, one of those things where, yeah, if we do an interview part for it, have a commercial, but we also the video. We also would you could repackage, repurpose it. Whether we can cut several versions for you of that for your social media use because everybody seems to have one commercial that airs a lot of times, and it does take a while for people to get tired of it. But if you can repurpose things, that's something we do as well. And
So you
so
can just even provide that either B-roll
Yeah,
or
the
video
raw,
footage, extra
yeah.
stuff, and then schools can utilize that in different ways. You guys, I want to pause here for a second because I'm going to show another video. A lot of you know I was a marketing director for a beauty school chain several years ago. I won a Hairbrain Video Award and Best Beauty School Marketer in the country, really from this campaign. I want to show this video to you guys if you haven't seen it. It's 2 minutes because we did with this exactly what John is talking about. We hired an outside company. We shot this video in the school, and then we put it on the website. We did a smaller version on a landing page. So let's take a look at that so we can get a beauty school example. Doesn't it just give you the chills? I love that piece because guys, it was super cheap to do also. Those weren't actors. Those were the children of people who worked at the school. And what I loved about that was I was very passionate when I hired my videographer about not making it a Bellis commercial because I didn't think it had the legs to go viral that way. I wanted people that went to Paul Mitchell, that went to Aveda, that went to ABC Beauty School to share it on their social, which is how it went viral on Modern Salon because we got Modern Salon to share it. And then basically anyone who followed them, they were reposting it back when Facebook was relevant. And so, you know, that video was the things we had to do. Like we had capes with the Bellis logo. We turned those inside out so that there was no logo. We had a big mat when you walked in with the Bellis logo. We turned that the other way so that there was no logo. I think something that schools can sometimes get wrong today is just this placement of their logo and their brand everywhere. And it's going to have a harder time picking up steam and going viral. I
Mhm.
was very clear about my vision. I don't want anyone to know it's for Bellis until the very end. I wanted the logo to appear. But guys, the real reason I show that also in my trainings is because that idea came from admissions. Like admissions was telling me every day, oh my gosh, everyone who goes to the school has been dreaming about it since they were little, and they would play dress up with their friends and do their hair. And that's when I had this vision like, oh my, we should turn our salon into little kids playing and have two central characters that end up growing up and one of them becomes a hairdresser. Like it just all came together. And that is a, edited, nicely done video that we were able to slice up. This is what John and I are talking about. I think a lot of us are doing a good job perfecting the authentic videos. I say a lot of us, some schools are doing a really good job with that. I follow a lot of you guys on TikTok. But what I would love to see more of in 2024 is this, is the branded, well-edited videos that just look good for your school. And John, I feel like this shift toward authentic social is hurting this. Like we're not seeing this anymore. And I think it's too bad. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and it's because I think everybody wants a slick package type of thing. I need to hear. I mean, when we were starting out, it was they need to hear the name of your company 6 times in the ad or something along those lines. It's like, well, tell a story that is bringing people in. There's cute kids
Yeah.
and magic right there. I mean, obviously you don't have to use kids in every one of them, but it is one of those where there's something, the music's kind of drawing you, and all of it is, it's a story, and at the end you get to find out what it's for, because that's been a couple of the viral ads this year
Yep.
where you didn't know what it was for, but you cared enough to sit through it. Is this even an ad? That would be the dream. And then you see it and you see that it was sponsored by this, or that's a big thing. And being a very self-aware and getting out of your bubble of, because you care about this doesn't mean that everybody else does. It's being, because that was, again, my sportscasting couldn't be farther from what you're thinking for a beauty school. But I once told a sportscaster I worked with, actually competed with here in Milwaukee, he knew too much about sports because he thought everybody knew who the backup left tackle for the Packers was. And I'm like, I'm doing the story on the rookie wide receiver whose family is really banking on him making the team, or the Packers, when I covered them, they had a defensive back who was a starter, and he was kind of much maligned because he wasn't that great. But his family was from Liberia, which was in the middle of a civil war at the time. So he's sitting there waiting. So we told his story that way. All of a sudden, Bao Zhu became everybody's favorite player because they saw the tragedy that his family was going through. Have that story, be a part of what you're doing, whether it's why do you do what you do, or why did this person benefit from coming to the school?
Yeah, I love what you said about how just because it's important to you doesn't mean it's important to them. Or
Yep.
sometimes like your example there of the guy who just assumes everyone knows, who this player is. We do that a lot in schools. Like we just assume people know what FAFSA is.
Yep.
Like a lot of people don't know what FAFSA is, or we just assume everyone knows we have job placement services because we're, Title IV school. You guys, no, they don't. We just assume everyone knows you get a student kit. No, they don't. Like I'm telling you, the school that screams it the loudest wins. I know every school has job placement. I know every school has a student kit. They don't know that. The student doesn't know that. So just because like we're comfortable, or we know the difference between Cosmo and SD, Cosmo. A lot of people, John, do you know the difference between Cosmo and SD?
I do not.
See, this is what I'm talking about. A lot of people don't. And so I think that we get into this lingo in our schools and we just assume everyone knows this. They don't. And so video is the best way to explain that. I want to share another 1-minute ad. I hope you guys are liking the ads because this is like generally one of my favorite things to do, because I feel like it better paints the picture. This is my favorite Starbucks campaign they ever did.
opportunity to support myself from being on the streets.
What I want to do is start a pay it forward, pay for the next person.
Wow, that is very awesome.
They say in a 1-minute ad, they say you 7 times. And something schools are failing to do right now is make the lead the focus of their marketing. Instead, they're making the school the focus of the marketing. We're award winning. We're the Harvard of beauty schools. We're the blah, blah, blah. We have award winning educators. This educator won colorist of the year. Like everything's about the school. And I don't know if you've met Gen Z today, but they are bigger narcissists than me and John. Like these people only care about themselves. They need to be the center of your story and the center of your marketing. So John, what is your advice to schools today on how to be more lead prospect focused and less about the school?
I think finding out what makes you stand out and what's special, like what do you care about? Whether if like, and I use Allbirds shoes as an example, where they donate a pair of shoes for every shoe they sell. They donate it to someone who can't afford it otherwise. And it's the right thing to do, but it's also part of their marketing. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Or if you're trying to reach a local community, well, if you're involved in Hunger Task Force, if you are involved in schools, especially anything involving younger people, because I think, again, that's going to be the focus of what you do.
Yeah.
Do something as opposed to here's an artistic shot of me, doing this perfect stylish maneuver that I had.
Yeah.
What makes you impressive as a person? Because there's a lot of people that are good at the different aspects of what a beauty school teaches, but is there something special about you as a person and that you interact with people really well? Have that come across in your videos, have it come across whether it's the professional one or if it is a social media one. I am so excited. I was at the Urban League had an event this week. I was so proud to be there. And one thing, it's a little transparent, but salute other people. I'm so proud that I am friends with this person or that we worked with these people, because then they're going to be so excited and thank you. And then you're sharing, you're not using each other, but you're using each other, where it's like,
sure. I love that.
showcasing
Yeah,
each other. So
exactly.
it's like, use those
Showcase
connections,
others.
because it's like, if there are people that benefit from knowing you, and if it's just something where you're saying this person is special, and it may not even be in your industry, they're going to maybe send someone your way that if they're working for a nonprofit and they're dealing with someone, I don't know what to do my next step. Well, have you thought about going to a beauty school? Have you thought about going in that direction? Because I think a lot of my friends growing up, it didn't occur to them. And then they were 29, 30 years old, still wondering what they were going to do, because they've been told, well, you have to go to this kind of college, or you need to do this kind of thing. And they ended up struggling for a lot more years than they needed to.
Exactly.
So it's like, and tell those stories and get them out there, and do not be afraid to ask your students for endorsements, because part of it is a lot of people like to talk about themselves, but it's also something that they're a showcase for you because they're doing well, but it also is almost like an ad for them, because you say she's now owns this salon, is underneath her. She's talking about how great you all are, but it is when somebody's going to your to look at social media, they see, oh wow, maybe I should try that salon out. So you can position it that way too, where you're saying, hey, if you endorse the school, I'm going to put it out on our social media. Hey, you just are opening a new place on the south side, or we're,
I think that's great. Yeah, exactly. Check out our alums' new salon, up the street from us. I think the best way schools can story tell is through graduates, is through students. We need to be doing more of that. Kathy wrote in the chat that people don't care how amazing your school is until they understand what's in it for them. And it's true. And I think that's the case for all types of consumers. And we are just so focused on our competitors and beating them and making sure they choose our school instead of the one up the road, that we are forgetting that, we're failing to connect, I think, properly with our leads. So John, to wrap up, if a school does want to do a more, brands telling edited video, how can they work with you?
Yeah, I'll put out the, I guess I'll put it in the chat. But it's, my email is, john@mypeoplecreative.com, and I'll put it in there. And you can call me too. I'll put all that on there, but don't call me
John at mypeoplecreative.com.
Yes, John, John
Yeah, perfect.
You're quicker. You're quick. This is why she's like a super achiever, is because she's quicker. I couldn't think fast enough. But again, it's never assume people know what you're talking about. And it's, when I was in Peoria, Illinois, again, my brother was the weekend sports guy. And the best thing that happened to me is he left because I was his dumb little brother that he didn't let do anything. I just showed up at the station. And the guy who replaced him said, remember, nobody cares about this as much as you do. So do not assume that everybody in town knows that the Peoria Richwoods Knights are the best football team in the area. 95% of people do not know that, if not less. And like Jen rattled off a couple of brand names earlier. I didn't know what she was talking about, but don't assume just because somebody might be interested in this career that they know. I think Paul Mitchell they know, but they may not know that you're talking, because most people in every aspect of life, you can be talking to them about something, and if you say something specific to that business, they're going to nod their head along, and they're going to be pretending to understand you. It's like, that's how I got into a really bad loan for my house, was because I'm like, oh yeah, I understand what you're talking about.
Right.
But they don't know. And always come back around and ask, did that make sense? Or did you understand that I was talking about how you're financing this, or how you would, how we do help? Because we help with placement. Well, what do you do with placement? Or did it make sense that we have relationships with these maybe chains or something along those lines as you build your business? It's okay to work at this business, this kind of chain type thing, because you're building your client base. Feel free to explain it and use it on video, because again, having video FAQs, again, find your 8 or 10 most asked questions and have a video answer to those, and put those out on your social too. But
yes,
put a face with it. Have that you care
have
enough.
your admissions people or a director, or at Bellis we did a unboxing of the kit, and we did that with one of our really pretty fun, well-spoken Cosmo educators, where she went through the kit. Being mindful of who you do have as the face of your company. But again, I put John's email. John, we're so grateful that you came today to share your expertise, especially, it's so funny. Like I always say that time in news, again, news people know how to storytell. It's a natural pivot from news to marketing. So it completely makes sense that you're still in this field. I'm also going to put in the chat a link to an interest form for an upcoming virtual class for your students on monetizing. I put monetizing video. What I meant to put in there was monetizing video via TikTok. So I have been dabbling in TikTok Shop. 85% of products sold in TikTok Shop today are health and beauty, and schools should be teaching their students how to monetize on social media. We have gaps, you guys. People are taking out their loans and their grants, and there's still a gap. And wouldn't it be great if your students could make some money? you know, just full disclosure, I am not an influencer. I do not have millions of followers on TikTok. I made $1,700 last week on TikTok just off of 2 videos that it took me 45 seconds to make. Your students can do this too. I want to teach them how to do that. So if you are interested in that workshop, please put your name on that form that I put in the chat, and I would love to stream that to your students. Thank you all for joining our last webinar of 2023. We're going out with a bang, John. It was so great to have you here.
Oh, it's so good to see you. Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it. Any parting words before we leave?
I just think being a little, don't be shy about finding ways to tell your story. And again, like the high school football thing was one idea, but it's like if there are events to be out there, but again, find people who were in media who maybe aren't anymore, who still they didn't lose those skills. Like most of the best anchor people that I've worked with are in PR and marketing now. But if you like find out who's the main anchor in town, like this woman, Toya Washington in Milwaukee, she's the most talented person ever, but they just said, well, you're not going to make any more money than you are right now. Well, she's so beloved that she's kind of doing what Jen did. She's starting a business where she just hosts events and things like that. Find those people now that they're looking to maybe have their name out there, say, hey, would you do a voiceover for me or do something like that? Be creative in finding people. Who is your favorite? Because more like morning DJs, you know, being the wacky morning DJ used to be a big deal. Now they're not, but they can still talk. Find people that you always liked that maybe can help you tell your story if you're not out there, or they can do an interview with you that you can put out as a 2-minute video on social media. And then you're also putting a portion of it on TikTok. For more, go to my website, you know, use that 20 seconds to get people to your website for the full story. So like every person you use as your spokesperson, 25 seconds on TikTok for her full story, go here. Well, now you've engaged them on 2 fronts.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Finding the right partners, I think, is going to be the key for growing video for your schools next year. Thanks again, John. Happy holidays to everyone, and we will see you in 2024. Bye.
I need a holiday sweater now.
You do. Thanks, John. Bye.
Thanks, Jen. Bye, everybody.